Good evening, Mark. Good evening, Transport Evolved. I hope you all had a very fantastic Monday, and I'm sorry that today's thought of the day is just a little bit delayed. Kid problems. Say no more. So I've been thinking about your thought from Friday and the Gigafactory and the awesomeness that follows. But before I do, I just want to talk about short-term versus long-term gains and electric vehicles and your Terry Pratchett analogy. I really like the boots. If you don't understand what I'm talking about, maybe you should go back and watch Friday's show, but otherwise I'm just going to assume you understand me. I totally agree with you, Mark, on the total cost of ownership, but the thing I'm worried about is how you would go about working out that arbitrary unit of measurement, because everybody drives a different amount in their car per year. Yeah, you've probably got some ballpark figures. Would you use those? I'd be interested to know. And let's not forget, a 3-year-old Nissan Leaf here in the UK is probably still around £10,000, and most people are not buying second-hand cars for £10,000. The other thing I think you talked about was upgrading your car. I know lots of people who started off in a Leaf but have now gone to a Model S, Tesla Model S. I also know people who've upgraded from a Nissan Leaf or are going to be to a Tesla Model X. And people who do buy plug-in cars do tend to end up with other plug-in cars. I know there was data in Japan suggesting that wasn't the case, but I think anecdotally, based on what I've heard, certainly seems that you buy an EV like a Leaf and then you eventually upgrade to a Tesla. So I'm waiting for my Tesla. Not that I can afford it. Gigafactory awesomeness, Mark. You are right. Everyone should have solar panels and wind turbines for their electric car factories, but some companies already do. BMW, Nissan and Chevy all have some form of renewable energy somewhere in the production process for the Chevy Volt, the Nissan Leaf and the BMW i3. So it's becoming more of a common thing. But I think planning regulations should stipulate for any new industrial facility that there must be renewable generation on site to take care of at least 80% of the energy demand. I would like to see all new build properties come with similar kind of regulations so that you have renewable storage and renewable generation for each house. You also have grey water systems for flushing toilets and saving the water, and other energy saving measures. But I think that's going to be a legislative nightmare, and builders don't like it because generally it costs more, and the only way to make it cost less is to mandate it so that the cost of putting them in will come down eventually. Very complicated. You also talk about the build and ramp up time to the Model E, Mark, and you said, well, maybe Tesla will launch it on time and take a loss. I don't think the Model E is going to happen when Tesla said it is. The Model X is already a year and a bit late, and Tesla's been very good at quietly pushing that back. Generally, I would suggest that Tesla needs to go the route of Apple, which is only announce things when you really know it's ready. In all honesty, Mark, I don't think we're going to see the Model E until at least 2018, probably as a 2019 model year, and by that point it'll probably have some automotive driving technology in it as well. Watch this space. But what do I want to talk to you about today, Mark? I want to talk to you about paying for the electricity we use when we are charging our electric cars in a public charging station. This morning, Mark, you wrote a story about Hertz pulling electric cars from its rental fleet in Milton Keynes because the local charging stations are going to start charging a fee per hour for charging. So £2 for a 7 kilowatt charge per hour, or £1 for a 3 kilowatt charge per hour. And Hertz has just said that's too expensive and no one's going to want to lease an EV or even rent it for an hour. But yet over in America, a new company called Volta has come up with a really clever solution to try and fund the power that we use to charge our cars in public. It understands people want free electric car charging, and that businesses that do provide free electric car charging are more likely to be patronised by EV owners. So it's come up with a solution. It's decided to attach a billboard to an electric car charging station, or should that be an electric car charging station to a billboard? You see, because these are quite big billboards, and the money that comes in from the ad revenue from using the billboard as a billboard helps pay for the tiny little bit of electricity that that charging station provides to local drivers who want a top up. I think it's brilliant. Which brings me to the question of how do we move forward in our society for charging for the electricity we use? And how is it taxed? Because one day it will be taxed, and one day everybody will have to pay. Do we use a smart system where everybody has an ID that's connected to their car, and when you plug in the charging station it instantly knows whose car it is and who to bill? Do you make it free with advertising, or do you do the pay per charge? I'll pay quite happily for rapid charging if I'm in a hurry and I'm on the motorway, but I'm not going to pay for any other form of charging unless I can really get away with it. But what about you, Mark? And what about you at home? I hope you have a good day tomorrow, and I'll see you on Wednesday.